Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1 24 launch season. We're here today for the Italian and Great British Grand Prix. That is Monza and Silverstone, currently in the one-shot qualifying for race 1 out of 2 for this second weekend. Yeah, here we go, qualifying. Who's going to get that pole position? Looks like Heichler is going to be taking it. As you can see, they're really going aggressive into the Ascari chicane and go very aggressive into that final corner, carrying the speed that the game allows you to do so, and across the line with DRS, and it's going to be a P1 and 19.1 in the end for pole position. Now we don't have the formation lap enabled. We don't know the weather yet, so we'll find that out in a few moments time. The formation lap, as I said, not enabled. So it is just going to be straight into the racing, and it is multiplayer cars, unfortunately. A 19.1 for Heichler, Nifajan and P2. Then we've got Beckham, Peanuts and Gilly looking at the race director, just in case if we need to. We'll be back for the race immediately. We'll see you in a bit. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn 1? We are away. The smoke is all around us. It's going to be Heichler into the first corner, but no, to the inside line in the middle. Who is that? That's Becken, as Nifajan is going to tussle for position. He's going to come out ahead as they go to the first corner, but on the exit of turn 2, they'll still just about hold on. Peanuts and Gilly further behind with the default livery, so of course it's Becken, but the only two cars in the different colours are Heichler and Nifajan. Heichler leads the way by a bit of a margin already, doing a very good job to get that nice launch, and they're not really going to be contested, it looks like, for now. That being said, Nifo's already back right behind him, so I take back my words. Bit of a lock up there for the Dutchman, the first Dutchman, the second Dutchman right behind, and they'll get DRS pretty much immediately, since the game now allows that with the new regulations of Formula 1. Now Nifo's going to be benefiting from that nicely, and you cross the DRS line, or you cross the finish line before you get DRS, so if I'm correct in saying you'll get DRS immediately, but I might be actually very wrong, because the detection point is right there as we've just crossed it, so maybe you don't get DRS until the second straight. Across the line, DRS will not open, so we will get it very shortly, but everybody in a train on lap 2 at a 35% distance race. We'll get the tyres up on the screen. It should be pretty straightforward. We've got Heichler and Nifo being confident with that hard tyre. With the straight line advantage that you get, the kind of strategy doesn't really matter too much, so you can all be in a train on a slower tyre and still keep up with the harder tyre drivers, although a medium to soft can still work in a 35% distance race. Whether that'll be the most beneficial one, we don't quite know. DRS will now be available for Nifo, and we could see an overtaking opportunity very, very soon using the energy. It's Heichler. DRS, and here we go. catching up nicely. They'll get a nice bit of a buffer. And Beck and Peanuts, Gilly, all pretty close behind. Obviously, DRS will cancel out a little bit to a certain extent if everybody's got it. So Gilly, Peanuts still need to push to make sure they bring that gap up. But Heischler, Niffo and Beck, and they all are incredibly close to one another. And as they get closer, they will slow each other down a little bit, and it will allow Peanuts and Gilly to catch up. Now, the first major overtaking opportunity right here for Niffo Jan. DRS available, ERS being used, so they're gonna go for that position. And so is Becken on the grass. Incredible stuff. They'll take P2. Heischler's going to make contact, bumps into the back of Nifojan, but not affected massively. And Heischler, I don't know how, but they've managed to throw it all away from being the pole sitter by a bit of a distance now to P5 and out of the train. Niffo leads the way. Can they get redemption from a few seasons ago? Locking up on the front tyres, and Becken is going to keep to put or maintain that pressure. Going to quickly make sure that we... oh, that's Becker making... I do apologise. We're going to quickly go back on and see this as Peanuts is going to go through. Becken making that mistake. Don't know if they've got any damage. I don't think they do, but Gilly is looking to also make that move pretty much immediately. And now already DRS has been lost by Peanuts as they weren't able to quite keep up. They do have the medium tyre. Will they use the energy? They're not using the energy until right now to catch up, which is very strange. I would have expected them to try and get to DRS range. Now Niffo has a perfect opportunity here to break away. Now I will take this opportunity to have a quick look at the settings, and I do apologise for this, but we'll quickly make sure our graphic settings are slightly changed so we don't get all of this particle situation going on, and I do apologise for that. I will quickly do that. I think that's all good, and we should be fine. Alright, we're all good now. Back onto the stream. We've got Niffo leading. Peanuts has managed to catch up, so they are right behind. Becken is still there as well. Not as close as I would have expected them to be behind Peanuts, but still there nevertheless. We've got Gilly sat in P4, pretty much where they were, and then Heischler catching up slowly but surely. 1.7 seconds is the gap. They will continue to do so. Now that is Peanuts already going for that move, so Niffo's going to let them go through and then try and re-overtake them shortly, I assume, on the exit. Will they go immediately? I don't know, but DRS will kick in. Will they try and make the move as they get to the detection point, or are they going to wait until they get to the start-finish straight? It's the safer option to do what they're doing right now and wait for the start-finish straight. Heischler wasn't really able to gain much because it is a straight line. In the corner of Parabolica would have gained a little bit. As you can see, they've gained a tenth, but when it gets to the DRS train, it's going to be incredibly difficult. Becken looking to make a move on Niffo as Niffo is not going for the move on Peanuts. They've made contact though and pushed him deep into the corner. Niffo's going to plant their car in front and stay where they are. Becken's not going to make that move, as they probably didn't think they should have done. Gilly sits behind, and as these guys follow each other closely, Heischler catches up a little bit more, which is great news for his recovery. Do they have damage? I hope they don't. I wouldn't be surprised if they did, because it was a bit of a hit, but we'll see. Becken, for that reason, may have themselves a bit of damage. They've also made that second moment of contact not too long ago with Niffo, of course, as well. That would explain why they're dropping back and then catching back up, but I don't think they really have damage. Heischler almost within DRS range. All they need to do is nail these few corners on the exit and they should be good to go, and they do. That is a 7/10, almost going to be 6/10 gap that they could have to Gilly. No, it's staying about 7/8 instead, but DRS is secured nevertheless, and we will continue to see the battle for the lead from the entire grid. Niffo goes for the move on the inside of Peanuts nice and early on, and they're going to allow Peanuts to get a bit of a toe down the straight, which will make it difficult for Becken to get through. So very well played there for Niffo. That's Peanuts going a little bit deep into the corner. Becken might have a look on the exit here. Will they want to go for it? Nope, they're going to wait for the DRS zone, but also Peanuts will be waiting for that DRS zone as well. So as long as Becken can secure a perfect exit, they might be able to get a move done here on Peanuts. But if not, if it's pretty much just an average exit, then I'm sorry, but they're just going to have to sit behind and play ball. Heichler will be in exactly the same scenario as Becken to try and get on Gilly. Gilly would be in the same scenario if they were close enough to Becken, but they're not. Now, that is going to be Becken potentially going for that move. They will not. They'll stay behind. Heichler also staying behind. Not in positions to make moves. Now, very, very difficult situations going on right here with the energy. As you can see, the cars are playing around throughout the lap. Now, Gilly is using the battery right now to try and stay in front of Heichler. Heichler does eventually avoid, and then you see that at the end of the straight, Gilly puts the saving battery on again on the exit. Heichler's right in the toe. Neck and neck. I think he's just going to go for the move now, push all of the battery they possibly can out. They'll be able to recover it a bit as well. Might have a look to the inside, but I don't think they will. The others are pretty much secured. Going to try and send it around the outside of one car. Try to send it around two. That's never going to work. And they lose the car. They lose the traction. They lose the position to Peanuts, who they just made contact with. But also, Becken was instead able to maintain side-by-side momentum. Now, Peanuts defends to the inside momentarily, but continues to the outside line. Becken's going to hold it. They're ahead, but it's going to be side-by-side. Is that going to work? It didn't quite. Heichler gets through. Controversial moves, but he's got the job done, and they are both facing the correct way around. Now, Peanuts is unfortunately at a lack of DRS to Nifo. Nifo breaks away a little bit there, so that is great news for his race. Heichler will be hoping that they can take advantage of that and make the move on Peanuts sooner rather than later, before the medium tyre decides to start dropping off pace-wise. Not up to 20 laps around this circuit, it's 19, so just under 10 laps will be the halfway mark of this race. DRS against a car that has nothing to fight with, except for maybe a bit of energy. Peanuts to the outside line, going to try and hold it, as they will. On the inside, nicely done, nice and tidy on the curb. Heichler will stick there on the outside. They'll be able to open up the steering quite nicely. They're going to bring it all the way to the left to open up the corner, and Peanuts has to obey. They're going to stick behind him. Will they try and go back to the inside line? I don't think they will. They're going to slot in behind after all of that and just maintain position, although Becken is very close to the back of him, almost looking to go for the move, but eventually backs off, and Heichler might already have lost DRS to the cars in front, behind I should say, if that's the case, and he has, so Peanuts will lose out. Becken will be going for that move. Inside line, they choose, they'll get a nice slingshot. They might be able to get back to Heichler if they can get these next few corners through Ascari and Parabolica right. They don't quite do it on the exit, but they are within DRS range at the moment. By the time we get to the end of the straight, it's not going to be a different story, because he's going to put the battery on and make sure that he gets involved. In the meantime, Heichler has not been able to do enough to get DRS range on Nifo, so they're going to have to wait a lap to do that, which will mean, oh, they did manage to get it somehow. That's pretty impressive stuff. That is pretty impressive stuff right there. He's managed to get the job done, and now they're looking to try and get a second opportunity at regaining the lead of the Grand Prix, in which they had at the start of this race for the first lap and a half. Now, I should say, not lap and a half, 2 laps. Now, Nifo, they will get their first bit of trouble in a while now. The first attacking car for a while. DRS has not been available to them as the lead car, but DRS will be available to Heichler. Will they go for the move this early on? They are gaining a lot. They are gaining a massive amount, but they will wait. It's the sensible thing to do. There's such a long way to go in this Grand Prix. It's almost pointless to go for a move. On the kind of less valuable straight, the start-finish straight, at least when it's not the end of the Grand Prix, this is where you really want to make the move and secure it nicely. 7/10 Gilly behind Peanuts, not out of DRS range yet, but currently the driver that's most at risk. That's the pit lane for Nifojan, and he sped into the pit lane, a 10-second, and for Gilly as well. That is absolutely what they didn't want. It's going to be the medium tyre there for Nifo. It's going to be the interesting soft tyre there for Gilly as well. So two different strategies, very different strategies. Gilly's going to try and make the use of these soft tyres. I assume maybe that's what the game has suggested for a 35% distance race. Now Heichler, knowing that Nifo has got a time penalty after speeding into the pit lane, they can really make things a bit interesting here. They can go a lot longer if they want to. They can go not so long. They have an advantage. They don't need to push it into the pit lane. That's going to be Becken, I was going to say, who will be very close as well, but making a mistake on exit, still maintaining DRS for both cars, and they'll get that advantage over Heichler. But unfortunately, they are going to lose it for the next straight. Peanuts will hold on for now. They are the lead car once again out of the two Swedish drivers, but I think it might be pit lane bound for both of them. If I'm correct in saying, Nifo and Heichler actually share a pit box. So now this does mean that these guys won't block each other, as I believe they were the two first drivers to enter the pit lane. Peanuts and Becken were maybe the third and fourth, and then Gilly was the last out of them. So Becken and Peanuts have both share a pit box as well. Gilly had a pit box free to themselves. So since these guys have done very different pit stops, that's actually worked out quite nicely. Nifo, regardless of the time penalty, will they get the overcut here on Heichler? They will, by quite a nice amount, and they're going to be very comfortably into position. It looked like he was almost on the inside line, but not enough in the end. They will hold on and stay in front for the moment, regardless of time penalty. They'll still look for it on track in the launch season if they can do so. And they've got no pressure behind with Gilly, and Peanuts also drop behind Gilly, not able to be in front. And within the gap of the two cars, trying to maintain that train. Becken might try and find otherwise, but obviously after the mistake they had, they were behind Peanuts. So what statistics and maths would say is that they are going to come out behind everyone, unfortunately, unless they've managed to put an absolute master plan of a lap together. But they've also got themselves a 10-second time penalty. That's three drivers there speeding into the pit lane. Heichler still continues to sit behind Nifo as they go into Parabolica. As they leave it, the ERS will be flicked on, the DRS will be flicked on when they can, but they're going to pull to the side to make the move before DRS actually kicks in. There's the DRS, and that is it done. And Nifo will just try and hold on. Use the energy, but then save a little bit as well. Make sure that they maintain that gap without using too much, and into the braking zone. It's all going to be a little bit crazy, and that's going to be Gilly going off the circuit, avoiding action for whatever reason. Peanuts will maintain or go ahead, and also Becken will get a free position out of all of that. Gilly, unfortunately, going to be dropping at his kind of double home circuit, a big Italian fan and a great British driver as well. So later on, he'll be looking to try and get a brilliant second attempt at a good result if they can do so. It's not over yet though. Lap 12 out of 19. We've still got a long way to go. Nifo, DRS range still working nicely for them, and they'll be looking pretty good. Heichler 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. So they still have the advantage on track. But if they continue to get too many penalties, then regardless of the speeding pit lane penalty, then Nifo will be in a good position for sure. Fastest lap. DRS as well. Would they try and go for the move again? Or will they just sit behind? They're not going to be in a position to make that move. Peanuts is in P3. Will Beckham try and go for a move? They won't be. They'll still sit behind. Two battles separated right now. The two Swedish drivers. The Civil War versus the other Civil War with the two Dutch drivers. Unfortunately, that is a mistake there for Niffo, as Heischler is able to gain 2 seconds. It's not over until it's over, but it does mean that Heischler is able to relax a nice little bit. That being said, they had that time penalty, did Niffo, but Heischler still pushed the limits and got themselves a time penalty. So it could change up a lot. These two, though, on track. As they know each other, they won't want to lose to one another. The competitive side, of course, will get to them. Becken winning so many races at the later stages of the F1.5 season, with Peanuts being P2 and leading pretty much the entirety of the championship until the last couple of races in the F1.5 season. These two are very, very competitive, very, very quick drivers, very skilled as well. To be in a championship or race winning position, you have to be multi-race winning position, I should say. And that will be the overtake done there for Peanuts. And Becken will have to once again sit behind his fellow countryman. 3 seconds behind Nifojan at the moment, and 3 seconds behind Heischler is Nifojan themselves. So Heischler's got a pretty nice gap. It's got about a 6-second gap between the next car that doesn't have a time penalty. So as long as they don't get themselves another 3-second time penalty, they won't be at risk from losing this Grand Prix victory. Peanuts will be looking to just try and hold on to the time penalty advantage to make a move when it comes to the end of this, just on track for the stats. It would obviously be great for Peanuts to get that result. They would get a P2 as it stands. Maybe, if they push a little bit more, they could even go for a P1 if Heischler is to make another mistake. But looking at that, a 3 second, it's probably not going to change. I think they've probably thought, you know what, I've got the advantage. I've got everything that I need to win this race. I've got 1 penalty. Why would I make it 2? There's no need to risk getting a second time penalty. Now Peanuts and Becken, I believe they're probably going to switch again, just using each other as a bit of a train, which will help them nicely in a position that they're in as well, making sure that they're on pace with one another, able to be in a position to make a nice and early an easy overtake before the braking zone. So you do really benefit from the DRS train. This is when it's at peak performance. You make the move before you get to the first corner. You just gain a ton of time, and you can see these guys gain about half a second to Nifojan just then. So yeah, mega stuff for lap time, and it will help them maintain that pressure on Niffo to make sure that they don't try and push away, if they do try and push away. It's another time penalty, unfortunately, for Becken. Peanuts doesn't need to worry about that though, because they would have made the move anyway. 10-second time penalties for both Niffo, Becken and Gilly, with the speeding pit lane penalty. And Becken, of course, now on 13 seconds, and we have Heischler, who's only on 3. Making that move nice and early, as said before, and they'll continue on their merry way to try and catch up to Niffo if they can. Once again, I will say, I am incredibly confused why we've gone from a 5 to a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. According to realism, maybe it does make sense. According to career mode, maybe it does make sense. But according to league racing, it makes no sense at all. It just doesn't make any sense at all. 5 seconds is more than enough for speeding in the pit lane penalty. Unfortunately, races are going to be played by it, so effectively, if you speed into the pit lane during league racing, unless the other cars behind have had a pretty severe issue throughout the race, you might as well just retire the car. which I hope that isn't the case, whether that be in a race-specific situation or later on if they can make changes. But for now, it seems that that's the way it's going to go. 5 seconds is the gap that Heischler now has to Nifferjan. 3.7 seconds is the gap that Nifferjan has to Becken. So Peanuts and Becken obviously being able to break away or bring back time, I should say, on Niffo a couple laps ago. But unfortunately, they did lose a bit. 3.9 on last lap, now back to 3.6. So they've gained a bit of time again. But they do have a little bit to think about to try and make sure they maximise their performance. This time, Peanuts doesn't actually make that overtake. And they don't lose that much time at all. Actually, they've gained about 2/10 on that back straight. So those guys are really pushing with the straight line speed to try and make sure that they maintain that pressure on Niffo. We're on the lap before the penultimate lap, and Heischler is comfortably leading this Grand Prix. We do have to listen to the slightly broken audio system. I do apologise. There's not really much I can do other than wait for a fix. But as these cars try and have slightly more realistic sounds, they aren't really synced very well with the cars. But it is what it is. Becken. With Peanuts behind. Peanuts not in an attacking position, but still with DRS to maintain their advantage. These guys will continue. You can see the cars just snapping on the exit, making sure that they keep it in a straight line still, but it does make the suspension work quite hard, which is ever so weird. Strategy-wise, it can be very strange, and tyre-wise, soft tyres versus mediums, I think the medium's still the safer opportunity, the safer strategy, but these guys are still trying to make it work, and that will be Peanuts making that move on that softer tyre as we enter the penultimate lap. 3.1 seconds to Niffo. They gain such an amount into the braking zone, but on the exit, Niffo will bring it back immediately, as I thought that it was a pretty hard send there for Peanuts into the braking zone. They do have a lot of energy to try and make back any disadvantage they get from any mistakes, like that one. So Becken is going to unfortunately be stuck behind, but they'll be able to use a bit of energy to make sure that they both power through and make sure that they regain any time that they've lost. But 3.8 seconds from 3.2, 3.1 it was, before they got into the second chicane. They have gained, lost about 7/10 from that mistake there. Pretty impressive from Niffo to be able to do that. Pretty impressive also for Heischler to be in the position that he's in, making a great recovery so far. These guys are still the closest ones on circuit. Heischler starts the final lap of the Grand Prix. Nifferjan will do so shortly, and so will Peanuts and Becken as they continue to try and push. Peanuts leads the way. Becken's going to be pushing for that overtake. ERS, will it be used? DRS will be flicked on. He'll make sure that he moves to the right hand side and now move left. Lovely stuff, and that's how it goes. Gilly, unfortunately, further behind, but looking for a fastest lap for the final lap. Let's see if they can get that one done, of course. Now, I did make a bit of a mistake with the pit lane. I said that I believe that Heischler, Niffo, and then Becken and Peanuts would share pit boxes. No, they will not. They actually all get their own pit box. It would be that the 11th person to join the lobby would share with Heischler. The 12th person to join the lobby would share with Niffo. But we don't have that, so it will stay as it is. And these guys will be absolutely fine. Now Becken's trying to push the limits. You can see on the exit of the corner, going all the way over track limits to make sure that they gained everything they could. It's not going to be enough. We're going to go on board with this man, who is going to be looking to take victory in the launch season for the Friday tier. For the first time, not the only time this evening, but for the first time, they will take the victory in Monza. Heischler wins the Italian Grand Prix. Then we've got Nifferjan sitting in P2, who will take a brilliant podium. Unfortunately for them, it will be Peanuts making that position to P2. Niffer will take that P3, Becken right there in P4, and the moment we've all been waiting for the entire evening. Will Gilly get the fastest lap for the Italian Grand Prix? That is the ultimate question that we're all looking for right here. We're going to get the sector time up on the screen to see if it's going to work. They're gaining a lot of time. They're not going purple in that middle sector. Ultimately, the purple sectors on our screen that we are shown never really is correct in the F1 game. Unless they fixed it this time, it usually is a little bit broken. Comes around the final corner. Not got any battery left in that car though. Pushing it to the limit on the exit. Bring it to the right hand side. Cross the line. What's it going to be for Gilly? Is it going to be fastest lap? And I don't think it was, unfortunately. But they've given it a good effort on the fresh tyre. And we will get the results on the screen just to double check whether they did so or not very shortly. Heisler gets driver of the day. Pole position to last. Back to first. And then job done. Did they get the fastest lap themselves? They might just have done. They did as well. Very good job indeed. That was a 21.04 Gilly there. We're going to go through the race director just in case. And then we will go to the next race. We will see you in Great Britain in a bit. No formation lap. Alrighty, we're almost ready to go racing, just getting our setups on. See you in a bit. Ready? Hold! Go! Who's going to get it into the first corner? Peanuts and Heisler on the front row. Niffo to the outside line in the yellow. Going to swoop it around the outside of Peanuts. There's a bit of wheel banging, and I think he's got the job done. Perfect stuff from him. That's going to be Devon to the inside. But no, Gilly and Peanuts collide, and that's going to be Becken having to fend off from Devon. Or was that Peanuts and Becken colliding? I'm not actually entirely sure, but unfortunately Peanuts is down the order. Not too far away though. Not too far away. Nufajan and Heisler continue their battle. We get the details up on screen, and we also want the tyres. They're all opting for the medium. All very standard. Looking for a pretty straightforward race from their side, I guess. Driver-wise, Devon joins the grid for race 2, and they get a very, very nice start up from P6 to P3 in about half a lap. Now they're looking to try and see if they can gain that 3/10 to get DRS range of the cars in front, but Becken is so close to the back of that blue car, and I think they're going to be making that move pretty quickly. They will to the inside line, but no, Devon will hold on, leave the space, but they won't actually take it until late on, which is strange, very strange, because I'd assume they'll try and work together to catch up the cars in front. Devon's still going to try and stick his nose to the outside line. He's going to continue to do so. They're going to go off the circuit, and Becken will then be in front and get that advantage. They pull to the left-hand side, get into the bumpy little bit right there. Now to the inside line. Will it be available for Devon? He goes back to the outside, but doesn't quite get it. Becken makes a mistake, and that's going to be Devon going through pretty nicely. DRS will also be available to Devon. They're going to now try and use this to their advantage, but 3 seconds down the road are Nifojan and Heisler. They have got a super advantage. Gilly is going to make that move here. They're going to try and make that move. It's not quite done right at the moment. We can't really see who is who, to be honest. Gilly's right behind on the inside line. Now the inside line will go to Becken as they are a single car on their own. No side-by-side action there. Alrighty, these two now figured themselves out a little bit. Becken holds on in front. Peanuts has retired. That's actually Niffo leaving the session, disconnects from the session, and that is going to be Heisler looking to break away. How tragic is that? Looking for a good race, sticking nicely behind Heisler, having the DRS for lap 2, and then all of a sudden they've been disconnected immediately. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. They've had that in Brazil, and they've had it again already. It's taken them 2 weekends in LSI to have the same issue. Beckham right behind Devon here, not quite able to make a move into the first corner. They wouldn't do so anyway because DRS is available. If they can make the move down the inside right there, that would be the perfect opportunity. Not quite able to get the confidence on the brakes to get the job done. They've also got Gilly, who is sitting right behind, just waiting to try and get something done. Now the outside line is Gilly's, now to the inside as Devon is a sitting duck without DRS. Beckham will go through, these guys continue. The outside line is now going to be the inside line for Devon. Bit of a twitchy moment, but they keep the car on a straight line, and more importantly in front of Gilly, who is going to have to continue in P5 for now. Beckham right there, they are catching nicely to Nifo, who is having that issue, and Heisler is already 3 seconds up the field now, all due to these awful bugs that we unfortunately continue to see. That is a big understeer moment right there for Beckham. His run's going to be terrible, and that is going to be Devon's position immediately, no question about it. Inside line will be their advantage, and they take that nicely in the black and purple car this evening. Trying their best to get the car through that final chicane and make sure that they maintain DRS with Devon. Devon looking to try and get DRS on the AI car of Nifojan. Do they get the job done into the braking zone? They will do so. Nifo still not able to rejoin right here. They're just going to quickly pop them an invite just to make sure that they are close or able to get in. If they're attempting to get in, if they've got more of an issue that we don't quite know, that is fair enough, and we'll hope to see them in the summer season. But now, that is the job done. Nifo has lost the position there to Beckham and Devon, and will very soon lose that to Gilly, unfortunately. They might be able to hold on. They were quick, obviously, in Italy. They will continue to be quick in Great Britain. They might be able to get back to this pack and continue to battle and have a good race. They did that in Brazil. They can definitely do it again in Silverstone. DRS will be available for the AI car, so they will be able to maintain a bit of pace, but it's still going to be very tricky for them. Unfortunately, Heisch in the meantime already 6 seconds in front of the entire field, as they were in Monza, but this time instead of lap 19, it's lap 5 out of 18. So it's definitely fallen their way, which is brilliant from them, managing to get a very, very nice start, made it ever so much more easier. But it is a shame that it wasn't a little bit closer for a little bit longer, for sure. Devon is in P2. Beckham still sits behind, and Gilly just following closely. Peanut's looking for a very interesting strategy right here. Now, the thing is, he's gone for that soft tire immediately. He must have had damage, I would assume. That's why they decided to go for that pit stop, of course. Whether they'll be able to get an undercut, I'm not entirely sure. My bad, I missed that. Our switchback is available for Devon, and they secure it very, very nicely, taking the racing line on exit and getting a perfect exit. Will Gilly try and get the advantage? They will. ERS is being used. Outside line, they're going to have a look, but then they back off. They could have had the inside line. Beckham makes another mistake, and Gilly is getting a lovely tow. Still, doesn't decide to go for that move though. We'll wait behind for now. Energy can be saved and lost very, very quickly in this era of game. And ERS is going to be used nicely here for Gilly, looking to make that double overtake on the inside line at Stowe, but backs off, only makes one corner. Oh, and there's contact. There's contact on the exit, and they will immediately lose both anyway and return to their P4 position. That was very, very, very close indeed between the two. And looked like Gilly just wanted to have a second opportunity at maybe getting alongside Beckham, but it was a little bit too late to ask for that. And yeah, making a bit of contact. Unfortunately, Niffa not able to get in, and Peanuts in the meantime just trying to get used to the car, get used to no line around Silverstone, and getting everything they can out of this for now. Even though they're on a Not a great strategy at a circuit that they have had some good times at and bad times at, winning the sprint race last season and also being P last at the end of the main race. That is Becken trying to hold on as Devon now on the inside line again as the lap before. I think they might have it again. DRS not available on this mini straight right here. They will go to Cops and no positions will be changing. Gilly still looking to try and make a move. Holding on nicely. Will they go for that though? Finding a bit of a different light, finding a bit more experience from Monza helps them be nice and competitive here at Great Britain. Will they be able to make positions by the end of the Grand Prix? 6 out of 18 lap-wise. DRS available. Gilly looks to the outside line, using the energy. Not able to get it on Becken, who's also got DRS and energy, leaving a lot of space here for Devon. But I think they will secure it this time, and Devon's going to have to sit in P4 and not be able to do anything about it. Becken leads. Gilly, will they try and go for that position and be in P2 by the mid-lap of lap 7? In the meantime, Peanuts trying to make these soft tyres work, looking to lose minimal time to the cars in front from this strategy issue. That is a big moment there for Gilly. Unfortunately going to lose the car on exit of turn 4 and doesn't believe what has happened, as they will actually let the ghost car go. Very frustrating for them. That does mean now, unfortunately, for battle-wise, we only get 2 cars battling instead of 3 cars, but I'm sure we'll still have a pretty nice race. Peanuts retires in the pit lane. Very understandable after their very early issues. And not many cars will mean that there's probably not going to be a safety car. Devon sits behind, looking to remake that move. They do lose the car massively, but keep it together on the exit of Stowe, outside line, and they'll make the move nice and early on, nice and easily, no question about it. That will be done, but losing the rear again. Losing the rear again. Very, very twitchy setup right now, but also losing the rear, but under braking instead of on throttle is Becken. So both of these drivers struggling a little bit in different areas of performance. They need to try and get this under control, not only for consistency and staying in the race, but also tyre wear can be negatively affected quite significantly in the F1 24 game, and that will be able to win or lose you a Grand Prix and determine where you can make a pit stop or when you can make a pit stop. Gilly's going to go into the pit lane, I assume for the soft tyre. They will continue on their merry way. Aisha leads in P1. 9 seconds ahead of the pack at the moment. Just setting consistent laps to make sure that they secure this victory, the second win of the evening. DRS almost lost here by Becken from Devon Young. It was 7, almost 8 tenths, but they've managed to make sure they've maintained that, and they will get DRS to continue. Once again, losing the front end is Devon, and it's going to lose them a lot of time, but not enough time to lose the position, I believe. DRS will be available for the Swedish driver, but unfortunately not going to be close enough to make an overtake. I'm going to quickly do something. I do apologise. We'll be back in a moment's time. Oh, and that's Becken going off the circuit as they go into the first chicane of the lap. Now, still holding on to DRS just about. Devon's not got much energy. He's going to have to start saving. He's trying to break away using the battery, as they know that Becken was weak right there into the chicane, struggling with the front end a little bit, maybe on grip. Maybe both drivers having very opposite setups. That tyre, or those 2 tyres on the front end for Becken, look like they could be struggling. Devon trying to capitalise on that. Beckham's got a lot more energy to make sure that they just hold on to DRS just about, but they've got to be really careful. You know how easily that DRS bar can deplete, but holding on nicely as they go into Michaels and Beckett's. Having the stability, even though they may have a little bit of understeer, still having that stability is a great advantage. Heisler goes into the pit lane, but gets themselves a 10-second time penalty, and it's going to be Beckham also going in, but completely misjudging where the pit lane entry is and also speeding into the pit lane. Now Devon goes for the overcut, waiting a lap to then go into the pit lane. I assume they'll put the soft tyres on as well, but all they need to do is make sure that they don't get themselves a time penalty. Then they'll have a lap fresher tyre, and although they are already out of 10-second time penalty range, never say never. If they don't make any mistakes, they might be alright. Very easily done. It is a slower pit lane compared to most pit lanes, of course. It's also a very, very long run into the pit lane, which can be very confusing. Getting on the grass there was Beckham. Got to be careful with that one. The green car. Heisler is the net race leader by about 15 seconds, is that? If the pit lane is about 30 seconds, it's pretty impressive. Using the rear end, which isn't ideal. But they continue. Devon not losing the rear end, using the energy, going for that in-lap, just maximising the pace on this in-lap as best as they can to try and come out ahead of Beckham, or just at least close to Beckham. Even though they might not be able to make this move, they will be able to get nice and close, and just going nice and slowly into the pit lane, taking all the time in the world right there. Still slowing down a little bit too early, as many drivers have done, but not getting that speeding penalty by speeding up a little bit too much. Gilly, of course, already pitting as well, has done the same thing and been able to avoid a penalty. Both British drivers able to know their home circuit, but an interesting, very, very long getaway right there for Devon does mean that they are going to come out quite far behind Beckham, unfortunately, which is not exactly what they wanted at all. And that's going to be a massive, massive gap. 3-4 seconds, maybe even 5 seconds. He's still got a lap to try and warm up these tyres. It shouldn't take too long on a set of softs, but still, that is time that you don't really want to have, because yeah, you would still want to have a bit of a battle. They do have that fresher tyre. They'll be good to go to the end of the Grand Prix. It might give them that really important advantage at the very end, but we'll see. I think, yeah, 4.6 seconds to Beckham. It's going to be very, very hard to catch back up. So unfortunately, the strategy-wise, not quite worked out. Time penalty-wise, as long as they don't do anything crazy, they've still got this one job done. And Nifedjan's car will be classed as disconnected. So they would be, in theory, currently sitting in P2. And P4, that's obviously Beckham not making that move just yet on the AI car, but they will be able to make that move very shortly anyway. That's the move, and they will be in a nice position. 4.5 seconds, 4.3 seconds, and that's how you can see how difficult it is to drive through an AI car. Still not going into the pit lane is the Ghost car. And Devon was able to gain so much time, almost an entire second right there, as the momentum is continuously reduced. Maybe that is on pure skill and the tyres are nice and warm. Maybe Devon is able to do that. I mean, they're gaining quite a lot of time as well, so it's not impossible that's the case. But they are gaining a lot, that's for sure. Is Beckham saving on the energy? As they're using a bit of energy, sorry, I was saving on the fuel is what I meant. I say that, I'm actually making a huge mistake. they're not actually gaining time. It's because that's the AI car in front of them. That's why the Delta's closing down so much. I am being very, very silly. I do apologise right there. Nifojan does join back into the race. And DRS will be available for Devon. It won't be available for Devon. They'll look to try and make that overtake right now, if they can do so. And they will into Stowe Corner. Very straightforward. And now we will get to see the true Delta gaining about 6/10 over that gap. I should maybe say about 5/10 really, but we'll say 6/10. Devon still picking up the pace and holding on nicely. The F1.5 champion from last season with Red Bull, of course, didn't manage to get the team's championship in the end. They did only get that drivers. The team's going to Peanuts and Terrence for Aston Martin, who both managed to turn up to every single race that season. So did Devon as well, but unfortunately, team-wise, it didn't quite work out in the end. Now, 3.6 seconds, gained about a second since we were first looking at this gap from the kind of, not pit lane exit, but the time that Beckham was going for the overtake on Nifo, so more or less that pit lane exit, and they will get that job done. They're trying their best to catch up if they can do so, but it's not so easy, unfortunately. 12 seconds for Heichler, despite having that penalty to their name. It's not really going to matter too much. Also, of course, the driver behind is also with that 10-second time penalty. Now, Devon would be able to catch up, but they've got to catch up 3.4 seconds. They'd have to then catch up another 2.5. So, to Heichler, if we quickly look at the time penalty, 10 seconds, just to make sure that we confirm that, and then a 15 seconds, so 15.7 seconds is the gap. They'd have to gain 5.7 seconds in order to be able to make that move. We'll go back to the interval right there. Gilly unfortunately getting themselves a 3-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, pushing the limits a little bit, just trying to learn the game in this launch season, as we are all testing the bugs, the glitches, and the handling, and the side-by-side racing, the connection, the stability of the game. Stability-wise, not been amazing, not been as bad as F1 21, I would say, or 22 for that matter. Handling-wise, obviously not been considered the best game ever, which is a shame, since this is an even number game, which means that it was the same team as the 2020 game, but then it was the same team as the 2022 game as well. So it's not not ideal, but it makes sense to a certain extent that we have had these issues. A different direction's taken, and it can definitely work. It can definitely work in the future, but it's not quite there, unfortunately. It's not quite refined to be able to be a game that people are enjoying too much. In the meantime, Devon continues to bring down that gap, almost looking at making that a 2-second advantage now. Will that one lap tyre difference be very important when we get to the final stages of this Grand Prix? There's the race leader gap. 15.6 seconds, pretty much staying more or less as it is right now. As long as Heichler doesn't make a mistake, or Devon makes a mistake, then this can be very different. But Devon struggling, unfortunately, losing the rear end quite a lot, and that is going to be that extra second that was gained almost already lost, and it is lost. 3.6 seconds is the gap, so unfortunately they're back to square one. What have you missed? Not too much. Just a couple of crazy overtakes in Monza, I guess. And a few battles at the beginning of this Grand Prix. Now we get to the final few laps. Everyone has split up. Of course, the penalties that you get for speeding in the pit lane are absolutely killer, which does kill the racing a little bit, unfortunately. Now, Devon will be able to make this move regardless. We're just looking at the gap at the moment, the delta between the two drivers, seeing what will happen as we get to these final few laps of the Grand Prix. But since Devon makes that mistake, I don't think we're going to be able to see a final lap battle, unfortunately. Bumps on the circuit as you see the drivers move to the inside, then to the outside. As you have to do that. Not the inside, but more of the centre of the circuit. Unfortunately, it was a connection issue, I believe, so I do apologise. But yeah, not really their fault. Or a game stability issue, potentially. Becken gets themselves a 3-second time penalty. Now, it will not really change the difference between Devon and Becken. And it won't really change anything with Heisler or Gilly, for that matter. I mean, Gilly will be able to catch up quite nicely. I say that they don't have a 10-second, do they? I don't think they do. They just have a 3-second. So, yeah, they'll be having a 10-second difference, of course, to Becken, which should be quite nice, but it won't really make a difference on the position. Penultimate lap of the Grand Prix now, 2.7 seconds. Devon slowly but surely making that gap back up if they can. It's getting close, but I think that mistake on the previous lap, unfortunately, was just enough to be able to stop this battle from getting too close. It'll still be interesting to watch this gap. How close can they get to the end of this Grand Prix? Could we see a 1.5 second? Could we see overall a 3-second gain since the pit stops? It'd be pretty impressive from Devon. It would reassure that they are the rightful champion. Both drivers, of course, last season doing a phenomenal job. Both drivers deserving it. Devon just showing some pretty impressive pace for someone that has only recently bought the game and started to play it. Not buying it immediately, of course, waiting for that patch to come out. Still, although a couple of mistakes here and there, handling the car quite nicely. I say that. They just about keep the car in a straight line. Twitching all over the place. In the meantime, Heisler does start the final lap of the Grand Prix. Devon giving a bit of a show on the traction right there with the twitchiness. Becken had a few issues, of course, themselves. Very different setups as we saw between the two drivers. Looking at a bit more understeer on the front end and then having to get the car rotated, whereas Devon, quite a lot of oversteer in the car, which does make it quite difficult, but still quick if you can get it done. Consistency versus pace, that is the question that you're looking. We'll definitely be able to get that 1.5 second gap. 1.6 I should say, really, because I think it was about a 4.6 second difference when we started the Grand Prix. I started the second pit stop phase, I should say, a second tyre, or second stint. There you go, I should say that, really. Now, we've got Heisler coming around the final few corners into the final sector we go for this man. Gilly once again looking to go for that fastest lap, as Heisler will not lap them. Coming into the final chicane now. Heisler will take the second victory this evening. They will win the British Grand Prix. Very well done to Heisler there. The pace has been brilliant from him. 10-second will be applied, but it won't make a difference. Becken will also get a very, very decent result. Having great pace in this game, 10-second will unfortunately not make it the best feeling at all. Devon will make that move and take that P2 in their first race in the F1 24 game. That's Becken taking that P3 spot, taking the podium. Gilly, second time of asking. They didn't get it in Monza. Will they get the fastest lap here in Great Britain? Fastest lap currently on your screen right now, a 29.4 versus a 27.7. They've got a lot of time to gain. Quite a lot of time to gain. About just under 2 seconds, more or less. As we go through the final sector, what will the delta show? 1.0 seconds. They need to find another entire second, basically, just under a second in this final sector, which is very possible to do so. Very, very possible. They'll go into that final chicane, lots of corners and traction zones to gain that extra time on the fresh soft tyre. Is it going to be enough for the British driver as we go for the final corner? Will they go purple? And I think they did it. They got the job done. That will be a fastest lap for Gilly. That'll be a win for Heichler with a pole position, of course, as they won the Italian Grand Prix. Devon Young gets the fastest lap, going from 6th to 2nd place in the end. And that is Heichler taking the win. Devon Young in P2. Then we've got Beckin. Gilly with the fastest lap. DNFing earlier on was Niffo and Peanuts. We go for the race director, just in case. And then we will be back for the post-race interviews. We will see you in a bit. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Italian and British Grand Prix for the launch season. We start with Niffo. Niffo, the Italian Grand Prix, it was an interesting battle at the start, leading for a bit, which was great to see. Unfortunately, it didn't go quite the way you wanted it to. Lucky to escape a little bit of an incident as well at the beginning of that race. Then, unfortunately, Great Britain once again in the chance for the win of the Grand Prix, but unfortunately, connection issues struck.
Yeah, I mean, Monza was fine. I think ultimately I didn't have the pace, but it's a track where you can easily follow that. And then obviously when I had the speeding a bit late, I was like, okay, well, there's a great, but you have to go through it. I was like, okay, I'll just still try to win just for like a moral victory, and then I did the Niffo thing, which is locking the rears, same as I did the last two launch races. So yeah, that was great. Lost the train, and it was just cruising to the finish line. It's a bit annoying that knowing if I didn't do those two things, I could probably be there, but I wasn't. So it's all a bit if. But yeah, I mean, it's a stupid mistake. Both of them are mine. So oh well, it happens. Yeah, Silverstone. Yeah, my internet is currently on 0.29 mbs. So yeah, this is great. I think this will happen again for the whole season, and I will disconnect from every race or lag back again because my internet provider cannot provide me with stable internet, and every other one has done the exact same. So I'm looking forward to fighting back all the time again.
Yeah, that's not ideal. Maybe we need to set a championship where you just try and drive the car and set like an overall time. Like a rally kind of stage, maybe that could work. Yeah, I'm really sorry for that, Niffo. It was great to see you at the front when you were at the front, of course. I would quite quickly like to ask, would you say that 10 seconds for speeding in the pit lane is justified, or do you think it's too much?
I think 5 seconds is fine, but I mean, I don't know. I think IRL to do 10 seconds as well, so I'm not really opposed to it. I was just, I just didn't know where to brake, to be honest, and I broke at the wrong place, so it was all my fault.
Fair enough. Well done, well said, well humbly said. Thank you very much, and we will see you next time for the summer season or the fall season, whichever one you compete in. Thank you very much, Niffo. And we move on to Devon Young. Devon, first, not Devon. Devon will not be here. They will not do the interview. Yeah, no, they will. Are they here? They're here. I think Devon's here. There you go.
Sorry.
No problem at all. No problem at all. All right, so Devon, that was a first race, of course, at your home Grand Prix. It was an interesting one. Of course, you didn't speed in the pit lane, which is definitely a positive thing, but had a few battles. Setup-wise, were you on a bit of a twitchy one?
I don't think it was a setup. I think I just don't know how to drive these cars yet, unfortunately. I was getting it towards the end. Like, I think I kind of understood like how hard to turn in on certain corners and whatnot. But certainly at the start, I wasn't sure if I was going to keep it on track. Like every time I sort of turned into a corner, my back end was just non-existent. So might have been something to do with setup. Probably more to do with the fact that I don't really understand how to drive these cars just yet.
Fair enough. Do you think there's still potential for the rest of this game, and are you one of the drivers that enjoy this handling model?
I mean, honestly, this is realistically probably the first time I've actually like played the game. I played one career mode race at Bahrain, and that was just kind of like, I wouldn't even say that I was taking it very seriously. I was just sort of testing the waters a bit. This is probably the first time I've actually played the game, and maybe it was just because I'm excited to be back league racing, but I pretty much enjoyed it like throughout. I think I quite enjoyed the challenge of not knowing how to drive the car, not knowing obviously I didn't have line on, and I did no practice, so that was I quite enjoyed just sort of learning it throughout the race. So I don't know. I think I might get along with the handling, but we'll see. This race proved that I can get used to it.
Yeah, for sure. It does. You had great pace, so really well done. Really great to see. Well done on the P2, however it may have come about. But well done for not speeding in the pit lane, most importantly. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
And we move on to Heisler. Heisler, that was 2 wins in a row. Very nice. A lot more straightforward in Great Britain, though, I should say that.
Yes, if I didn't make a little oopsie in Italy, it would have probably been the same as Silverstone. Even though it's quite hard to get people out of your DRS, I felt like I had way more overspeed in Monza than I did in Silverstone. I was expecting that. Silverstone has historically been not the best track for me, and I just don't like it on this game. It's just, no matter what I do with setup, it just feels weird. And it has some weird bumps, so it's just not a great circuit in my opinion. Yeah, it's been the first time I've dominated this much in any kind of somewhat league race, so it's new, but it's sad to see that Nifo disconnected or had another issue, because he had some great pace, especially at Silverstone. So it would have been a nice battle with him, I think. I don't think he was like way quicker than me or something. It was just slipstream and DRS effect. But it would have been a great battle, I think, and I don't know what the outcome would have been.
Yeah, it's a shame, but you still had great pace, so don't take anything away from that one, even if there wasn't a battle. I did see that you were able to test track limits a little bit. Was that something that is kind of Silverstone specific and it's a bit difficult around there, or is that maybe a bug or just stuff that happens?
I can remember one moment, like at the end of the race, where I went wide at Stowe and didn't get a warning for it. I mean, it wasn't really testing the track limits. I only had 2 warnings, by the way. I didn't really went off that much. I was close to track limits a lot of the times, but just seeing where you actually can go was it indeed. And that one time I went really wide at Stowe was just to see if I don't go full throttle, if I wouldn't get a warning, and I didn't, so that's good knowledge.
Fair enough. Well said. I just realised I've actually made a mistake. It was Becken that got the 3-second time penalty, not you, so my bad there. I just completely blundered that one. But thank you very much. Really well done today. Congratulations on the 2 victories, and we'll see you next time. Well done.
Thank you.
And we move on to Gilly. Gilly, Monza, quite difficult one. Looking for the fastest lap, didn't quite come around. Then Britain had some nice battles, were right there. Obviously had a bit of an issue that may have not been caught on stream, but you eventually got the fastest lap. Are you happy with the fastest lap, or did you want a bit more?
Yeah, because I was the fastest on the final lap of the race, so because we did so many laps and I was the fastest at the end, that means I was the fastest overall. So I'm happy with that. So
you could have
technically
probably
I won
the race by quite a few seconds.
Yeah, if I did that lap every time, I would have been faster than someone every lap. So now we know I'm capable of it. I'll win all the next few races. So that's
Yeah, looking to the summer season, then you're probably going to dominate every single one.
Yeah.
Well said.
He wasn't here, so he wasn't here for me to beat, but I'll obviously beat Zingy, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to be as quick as you were today, there's no question about it. I would just say, well done, congratulations on the fastest lap, and thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And that was the shortest interview I've ever had. Peanuts, we end with you. Unfortunately, it wasn't too easy for the Silverstone race. You were with the pack, of course, for Monza, having a good old battle with Becken as well. No line. What circuit was easier, Silverstone or Monza?
It's not even a competition. I mean, Silverstone. I mean, Monza is nothing compared to Silverstone. Holy, I was struggling a lot, but that could have been down to setup because I forgot to load mine. But Monza is just like straight, then you do one corner, and then you chillax for 5 seconds, and then.
That's interesting because I struggle a lot more at Monza than I do at Silverstone because you've got so much more speed into the braking zone and it's easier to make a bit of an error. So that's interesting. Fair enough. Are you still confident that you can get on top of this no line thing?
Well, I mean, it's gonna take a while, which is quite proven. If you look at Becken's pace, if you look at my pace, I mean, we're far off. I mean, you could see Chrysler up there. I mean, he was very quick, and we're not really here to be last.
Mm.
But that's kind of where we are at the moment. We're not really that quick, which, yeah, I would take it for now. The Monza race was good from my side. It was just that damn corner after Sector 1. When you get into first like braking zones, like the left right, I really struggled through. Like every time I was braking at the end, I just lost the back end. And otherwise, Monza great, Silverstone not so great, but due to setup, and I was like, I can't bar it. And I had a broken wing too, which I forgot to replace in my first pit stop. But I'm confident we're going to get there, but it's going to take a while. So don't expect too much from us the next like month or so.
Well, you've got a lot of time. Of course, the summer season is there to make sure that there's time between the next season, so you've got absolutely ages. Don't worry about it. I can't wait to see you back up front, and I'm sure it won't take too long. Thank you very much, Peanuts. Really well done today. Great effort with no line, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers.
And that's been it for the post-race interviews. Thank you very much for watching. That's been it for the Friday tier launch season. We'll see you tomorrow for the finale for the Saturday tier, the launch season. Then there'll be a break. Then we'll get to the summer season. Once again, thank you very much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.